Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman. We are still doing the beach edition. Y'all know I can't stay away. The mail must continue. And so today, this is a follow-up. This is a follow-up to the previous video, the video that I did last night. Now, last night we talked about redistricting and how the Supreme Court has basically said, look, y'all been racist long enough, looping all these black folks together in the same district, assuming that all black folks want black representation. And not only that, y'all have had black representation for quite some time because for whatever reason, black folks felt that the people that represented them best were going to be the ones that look like them. But as it shows, it didn't really kind of pan out that way. What we have seen and what has been well established is that black representation absolutely doesn't improve the outcomes of black folks. And now the Supreme Court didn't argue that. But essentially what the Supreme Court has said is like, listen, we're not using race anymore as a determining factor on how these districts are drawn. Period. It's racist to do so. And then yesterday I talked about the crash out. Well, one particular crash out that I failed to highlight is this. Now, this performance is rich. This performance was held down in Florida. Actually, I'm here in Florida. Not sure. This individual, her name is, I think it's Alicia. Let me tell you what her name is. I could tell you. Hold on one second. This chick. Angie, not Alicia. I knew it was an A. Angie Nixon. If you want to see an orangutan in real form, then you need to look no further than this masterful display of unhinged female imbecilic behavior. Now, if anybody watches my channel, y'all know I've defined what an orangutan is. It's not it's not a dermal descriptor, meaning it doesn't refer to how a person looks at all. The orangutan description is a behavioral one. It isolates imbecilic behavior done by females, and it's usually because they're unable to manage their misery, the chaos in their life, or some other external factor that has caused them much discomfort and unhappiness. And then as a result, they show out. So today, we're going to do some screen share. I've got my iPad and I'm hoping that this works out and we're able to get through this without too many technological hiccups. But y'all got to see this. This one, I don't even have to give much commentary to it because it's going to explain the crash out you're about to watch is when the melanated matriarchal Marxist class that has been in power for a really long time. This is what it looks like when they feel their grip of power waning and the control and the subjugation that they've had over the Black community for the past several decades. When they know that the end is near, these are the antics that they resort to. So let's go ahead. We're going to play the first one.
Constitution. This is a violation of the Constitution. I will not allow you to destroy our democracy. This is a violation of the Constitution. It is. It's a violation of the Constitution. I'm out of order because y'all are doing illegal things to the state of Florida. It is out of order. It is out of order. It is out of order.
Listen, y'all, this orangutan can't even recite the preamble to the Constitution, let alone accurately and vigorously defend this redistricting measure. She can't tell you how it's a violation of the Constitution. But that's what female imbeciles do. They don't have to make sense. Their arguments don't have to be rooted in any logic or reason. They got to get it out, right? They got to get it out. So they allowed this unhinged orangutan nut job to let it out. Like, she came prepared with props, y'all. Okay, now the jumpsuit is cute. The jumpsuit was cute, but and now pink is my favorite color, right? So this gonna be hard because I'm feeling the jumpsuit. I love a little coordination, right? I got my pink water bottle. I got my salmon pink nails. I got pink lip gloss, a pink fan, a pink iPod case, like pink. Right? Pink, rose gold. Look, I'm here for all of it. Yeah, but see what we can't do. The theatrics here are ineffective. This is not working. This is not work. Now there is a segment of the low IQ, low information voter class that this is going to work on. Like the same people who can't like verbalize the preamble of the Constitution, like her. If you ask them, how is it a violation of the Constitution to say we are no longer going to use race to determine how these congressional maps are drawn, but rather we're going to use something that allows the voters to choose and determine, and it's their politics, right? Like I couldn't choose to be black, right? I was born black. I'm a die black. I'm just always going to be black. However, I could choose to be a Democrat, and then I can choose to change my political affiliation whenever I see fit, and then decide to be a Republican. These maps are racist in terms of they've been for decades racially gerrymandered, because the idea was that at one point, because black voters were disenfranchised. Now, hear me. I don't want to get into the weeds in an argument about the disenfranchisement of black voters, because it's a separate conversation that must be had. But let's just go with it for a moment. At one point, because the black voter was said to have been disenfranchised, our legal system felt that to right that wrong, or to correct that we should give black voters black districts, because those black districts are going to represent black interests. And then as a result, these black districts were led by black legislators. But let's look at these black outcomes. What we noticed happening in LBJ, I got another video that I'm going to show you. LBJ was brilliant. Like, he told black folks exactly what it was going to be, how long he was going to make sure y'all was subjugated, and y'all have done just that. What the racial gerrymandering did was give black people more political representation, which in turn gave them more political power. But look what we did with it. We elected individuals who did not have our best interests in heart, but had their own interests in heart. We put them into office. They've been in office for perpetuity. They've gotten rich and exploited the heck out of you, but your outcomes are trash. I mentioned it in yesterday's video. Hank Johnson, James Clyburn, Maxine Waters, Al Green, like, name every member of the Congressional Black Caucus that has a majority black district, and look at the outcomes, and then you decide if racial gerrymandering was a net positive for the blacks that they claim to represent, or a net negative for the blacks that they claim to represent. Now, they go out of their way doing all kinds of things and getting all kinds of representation for the rainbow cult, but when it came to the blacks, you know what they did? They just gave you a little breadcrumb, gave you a little EBT, little Medicaid, gave you a little program here, a little program there, some Obama net. And outside of that, they brought you no jobs, no infrastructure. They didn't improve your educational outcomes at all. So the Supreme Court is saying we've had more than enough time pass for us to examine if racial gerrymandering, meaning drawing districts and in really funky ways, which basically isolate where all the black folks are and then draw the boundaries of the map together so they're all lumped in, and then give them a representative. And more than likely, those people in those areas are going to vote for the people that look like them. But the question is it true representation? I argue that it's not. Why? Because I've never wanted anything that was being pushed or advocated for in these majority black districts. And not only that, but in an effort to reverse racism, the way the maps are drawn, in essence, are racist. But that ain't what this video is about. I felt like I needed to go ahead and just explain that. But let's talk about the behavior and the crash out of this Nixon lady. Is it Alicia? Alexa? I keep forgetting her name. What did I say? Angie. Why I keep forgetting her name? Angie Nixon. Lord have mercy. You talking about embarrassment? This is the foolishness that I'm talking about. This is the black representation that y'all get because y'all vote based off of ethnicity. You've allowed the racial gerrymandering of these maps to cloud your thinking so much that y'all ain't been paying attention to the types of representation that goes to Washington, D.C. or in the State House to represent you. These are the ones that y'all are sending. The crash test dummies. The ones who can't articulate how what the Florida legislature is doing, it actually in order to make it represent what the state actually looks like, and getting rid of these maps based off of race. How is this unconstitutional? Notice how she never explains it. She never articulates it. She just says it really loud and really ignorantly, breaking all kinds of decorum because she's desperate. See, what these black Marxist politicians have been doing, the jig is up. Like, it's over for them. And I praise God that it's over for them. And yes, I'm going to take a little bit of credit. I'm a dry snitch and just take a moment to say, praise be to God that he gave me and so many of my peers the courage to talk about what these melanated Marxist-minded Negroes have been doing, how they purposely keep grievance and racism on the forefront of your mind to where it dulls your senses, to where you don't even see that the entire time it's been them all along, taking the resources, giving it to illegals, making sure the crime stays high, making sure that your literacy rate stays low, making sure that the economic opportunities don't rise but so much, because as long as there's problems, they'll always have a problem to run on and a reason to convince you that you need to vote for them. They don't, because if they actually solved the problem and if they actually proved to do what they said they would do, you'd be like, well, what would they vote on? What would they run on if they improved your literacy rates, right? You'd eventually figure out that socialism, high taxes, gun control, sexual perversion, abortion, lack of school choice, too much government dependence, free stuff, EBT, mandatory minimum wages. Like, if your educational outcomes were improved, you'd realize that all of the things that I just mentioned are actually not helping you, but they're harming you. So that's why they go out of their way to keep you ignorant. And that's why they go out of their way to perform these kinds of unhinged, incredibly embarrassing theatrics, because their grip of power is waning, and they know that they will never win another election based on their ideas because their ideas are trash. And racial gerrymandering was just another way that Democrats, particularly Black Democrats, use to do the bidding of the white liberal, right? To do the bidding of the white liberal and to give a small minority of the boule class of melanated Marxist Blacks, to give them a little bit of power. And then we watch them in office. We watch them get rich, and you get poorer and more exploited and more subjugated. Well, thank you to the Supreme Court. So anyway, I wanted you to see that crash out. And then I'm going to show you, let's look at another video. This other video is actually going to demonstrate and show her justifying. Like, one thing about the orangutan, they never see that they're the problem and that their behavior is unacceptable. They don't mind embarrassing themselves because they're desperate. They ain't got nothing to lose. But I want you to watch this video. And I want you to see.
A major decision from the United States Supreme Court on redistricting in Louisiana is raising new questions here in Florida. State lawmakers approved their own congressional map proposed by Governor Ron DeSantis.
The Florida legislature passed a new redistricting proposal today, but will that high court ruling reshape how Florida's districts are drawn or protect it from legal challenges? News for Jack's anchor Tarek Miners here now after speaking with an expert about all of this. Tarek?
Well, you know, state leaders say that Florida's new map is about politics and not race. But now a new Supreme Court ruling out of Louisiana could make that distinction more important than ever.
I just want to highlight here what Florida is doing. Governor Ron DeSantis, God bless him, is a good thing. And it's actually not about race. It is politics. But notice how the race hustlers are now mad because it's not about race. Like, they have nothing else to run on and no other leg to stand on other than the race. And now that race has been removed, right? They've removed this weight that demonstrates, fine, you want it to be judged by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. Well, we're doing that. Now they're like, no. See how they expose themselves. Anyway, let's look at the redistricting battle. What's happening here?
I'm so upset because I had to disrupt the House proceedings yet again because they were just trying to push through illegally drawn maps.
No. The way they've been drawn for decades with the racial gerrymandering is technically illegal. But notice the melanated Marxists. I had to disrupt. She said, I had to disrupt the proceedings because what they were trying to do was take away the Black power, right? That doesn't empower Black folks. It just empowers Black politicians. Yeah, that's what she really meant to say, but she didn't. She showed her whole entire tale. These are the Black women that I'm so sick of. They don't represent me. I'd never vote for a woman that acts and that will show her tail like this out on the House floor. Her, not a Jasmine Crockett, never a Cori Bush, a Ayanna Presley. All of these women have one thing in common, outside of them being Black. They're Marxist-minded, melanated Negroes. They're not free-thinking individuals. They need the oppressed versus the oppressive paradigm to constantly be on the forefront of your mind so that you believe that the people oppressing you, it ain't them, it's everybody else. So that's why they're always crying racism. Her behavior was so disgraceful and embarrassing. And you know, it's sad when you can, like, there were women there looking at her, and I'm sure they were embarrassed, but they probably like, well, you know, at least she had the courage to do it. What makes it so embarrassing is the lack of self-awareness. Like, you know why I know she lacks self-awareness? Because the first video of the crash out that I showed you, I got that from her YouTube channel. I got it from her. Like, why would you upload this to your own YouTube channel unless you are proud of your crash out? You are proud of your lack of decorum, your lack of standards, your hood rat retarded behavior. They are proud of it. They have no shame because she put it on a YouTube channel. She loves the attention that she's getting over this. It doesn't matter that it's embarrassing and shameful and it's in poor taste and bad character for women to act like that. She thinks that her behavior is noble and righteous and to be commended. She believes this is commendable. She believes it. These are the women y'all got to choose from. These are the women that are young girls. This is what they learn, that rebellious behavior, because those are the ones that get highlighted and celebrated within the Democrat Party and within the community. That type of behavior is labeled as bold and brave and trend-setting and empowering. The other day I saw a Sherry Shepherd show. She had Jasmine Crockett on there actually bragging on her atrocious behavior and the way she conducted herself in Congress. This is the reason why Democrats put women out on the forefront, Black women out on the forefront like this, is because this is who they want you to be. Because if they can make you like this, then they know there's no chance in hell that we'll be able to restore the family, because our own men look at that behavior and they're like, nope, she a whole headache. She would embarrass this whole family. I wouldn't be able to defend that. It's unladylike. It's classless. It's ghetto. It's ridiculous. So if they can get all of us to act like her, it serves more than one purpose. One, they think that it gets them the attention that they need, the improper attention in terms of calling it racism, and it's not racism. But then this has social and cultural implications for the Black community, because these are the women that they elevate, and they are subconsciously telling you that these are the women, this is how we want you to act. And then our men are like, oh, if this is how they want y'all to act, this explains why we don't want to deal with y'all. Because we don't want to build families with women who act like that. I don't want our children thinking that this is what womanhood. Is this supposed to be the example of womanhood that we're supposed to follow? But the thing about it is, our young girls are following this as an example of womanhood because this is what they see. They see twerking on the DNC stage, and then they see unrational, unhinged behavior like this at the State House and in DC on the congressional floor. And then they wonder why we can't get married, why we're the least married in the culture or in the country, is because Democrats, liberals, progressives have to keep women like this visible because it impacts our outcomes in a negative way. You can't restore the Black family if the men are weak and emasculated, and if the women are unruly, rebellious, and a bunch of retarded acting orangutans. It just those two don't go together. Those types of men and those type of women, they don't go together. They don't go well together or separately and apart. They don't go well. But let it finish playing.
State Representative Angie Nixon protests the passage of Florida's new congressional district map during the vote on the House floor minutes before it passed today. The map aims to increase Republican dominance in South and Central Florida by potentially creating a 24-4 seat advantage. The passage of Florida's map comes just hours after the Supreme Court's decision in Louisiana, which marks a shift in how states can draw congressional maps.
Since about 1983, there's been a presumption by the Department of Justice and many states that you needed to draw congressional districts based upon the minority population in the state. What the Supreme Court did is it changed that, and it said from now on, you do not have to have a strict proportionality between race and congressional districts.
Constitutional lawyer Rod Sullivan says some of Florida's maps have in the past been considered racially gerrymandered, like maps drawn by former.
No, it may not have been considered. It was. How do you have a district coming from the northern part of the state, curve over west, go down a little bit, and then go south and east? Like, that's not a contiguous district. But what they did is they identified where's the high concentration of the blacks and put them all together. And then you get a black Democrat, the white liberal to get a black Democrat to run in that district, and then they stay in power forever. And then black folks never put two and two together to figure out this why our district is trash. It's because our representation done had they knee on our necks. You have no idea how happy I am. This needed to happen. In order for, it's sad that the white man had to do it, but in order for the black community to see that the knee that's been on their neck this whole time were their own people who look just like them, who've been in power in perpetuity, and that your representation has not been representing your interests, but they've represented the teachers unions' interests, the LGBTQ's interests, and the Marxists and the communists and the socialists' interests. Like, they've effectively turned you into a Marxist-minded, communistic, socialistic enclave. Y'all, we like communist Russia inside of America, just brown. So I'm gonna let this play. I'm gonna let this clip finish, and then I got one other clip we're gonna end with, and then we're gonna close it out.
Is different and instead is politically gerrymandered, making Florida's newly passed proposal harder to challenge in court.
So what will more likely happen as a result of this Louisiana ruling is that the new congressional districts that are being proposed by Governor DeSantis will be very difficult to challenge because they're not based on race, they're based upon politics. And the Supreme Court has said that politics is something that legislatures can consider, and that race can only be considered in very narrow circumstances.
Sullivan points out that while political balances may shift, minority representation itself may not drastically change. But in a video
and that's true, because you have so many black folks are deceived and brainwashed that they still gonna vote for Democrats. They're still going to vote for Democrats. However, it's going to expose the fact they are going to lose some seats. Black folks are still, some black folks, not all, are still going to vote against their own interests. And that's fine. You can't help those. But what this is going to do is shift the balance of power, take it away from the black representatives, i.e. the Congressional Black Caucus, and it's going to demonstrate to you that we all don't think alike, and it makes some of these other districts a little bit more competitive. And then I'd be interested to see if any of these districts that were once part of the all black district, let's see if they change and improve. Like, what's the worst that could happen? If it stays the same, then you just be like, well, let's see who's in power. If it stays the same and it's black Democrats still in power, then you'll know that they're the problem. But if some of these districts become more competitive and you start to see gradual changes and improvements, and you see that the people in power are not the people who were in power before, then that tells you all that you need to know. And that gives you the answer that you seek. So I thought I was going to show another clip, but I changed my mind. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I thought I was going to show another clip, but what I'm going to do is I'll probably just make a separate video about that. I'm just curious to know, what do you guys, first of all, what do you guys think about the behavioral antics of the queen of ratcheting herself, Angie Nixon? Do you think that was an appropriate behavioral display on the House floor, because what was at stake was so major and so serious and so detrimental that it required her to bring a bullhorn, use the bullhorn, and show her whole entire tail as if her doing that was actually going to stop it? Sorry. There's a helicopter going by. Like, I could see if this was some legitimate injustice going on, what I would have liked to see was for that dude to snatch her up. Like, he should have just manhandled her, wrestled her unruly behind down to the ground, and then escorted her out. But he was so polite. Like, he allowed her to get it out. And then after, things, she started to simmer down a little bit. That's when they physically removed her. Like, they should sanction her. She should be sanctioned or censured. Like, something should happen, because these chicks can't keep doing this like this. I mean, I know they think it's effective, and the rebellious, unruly members of the community think that this is socially acceptable, but that's because they ain't got good sense either. But anyway, I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the meltdown? What do you think about Florida? And now, as early as earlier today, Governor Kemp of Georgia, who's not one of my favorite people, but I'm not mad at him, he's even considering doing some map shenanigans to break up the monopoly of these all black districts, especially the ones on the east side of town in Atlanta and the south side of town in Atlanta. Let's open it up to competition. Like, if your ideas are good, y'all should have no problem winning an election, but you can't. So that's why you got to cheat and group all the blacks in together, so you can amass power for yourself, not for your district, steal their money, and keep them as oppressed and as subjugated as possible. This is why I say slavery is a choice. Well, I can't pull it up now. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Leave me your comments down in the box below. Until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.